Hello everyone, this is Callie Rasmussen, the Collections Manager here at the Bennington Museum, welcoming you back to Tours at 10, and today we are going to be talking about partying. Who doesn't like a good party? Back in the early 1800s, people also liked to party. So for a good party, you need good company, you need good music, and you need refreshments. So Julius Norton here is seen with his flute and his piano, ready to provide some lively music for his friends. Another one of his neighbors, Hiram Harwood, also liked music. He was a musician himself, and gave us a little bit of insight into the parties that these people were attending at the time. He kept a very detailed diary. And he writes a lot about going to the local ballrooms at the Williamstock Inn, the other taverns in the day, and playing music for large groups of people who were dancing. Hiram himself was painfully shy and didn't really like dancing himself. He was a little bit more comfortable if he was in the background playing music. He also talks about impromptu parties in the family kitchen. So, his friends would come over in the evening and he'd play a little bit of the flute for them, or a little bit on the violin, and they would all have a dance. And in our collection, we actually have a piece of music that he wrote out himself. So, in these days, you didn't really have the option of turning on the radio and listening to whatever was popular in the day, or listening to TikTok or these other social media. So he would depend on his friends to provide him with different kinds of music. He'd copy them out by hand and learn them so that he could play them. This is Phipp's hornpipe. A hornpipe is a lively little dance or a jig. And the flute in this case was owned by another Benningtonian, Ursanus C. Merrill. Merrill also owned this little wine chest behind it, and so the other thing you need for a party is refreshments. Merrill and Julius Norton were both rather wealthy people, so what he had in this wine chest was probably rich wines like port or Madeira. He might have also had rum, gin, other stronger liquors. And for something like that, you also need nice furniture. So this sideboard is the sort of thing that would have been kept in one of the nicer houses in Vermont. And one of the things that's interesting about this sideboard is that these little side drawers have little dividers in them. So you could put 3 bottles of wine or liquor in each of these drawers. So this is something specifically made for entertaining and for partying. Now, Ursanus C. Merrill is rather interesting because at one point in the 1820s, his wife was actually accused by the Bennington Old First Church of intemperance. And as the 1800s wore on, drinking became less socially acceptable, especially drinking to excess. And at this point, addiction wasn't fully understood, and people didn't really have the tools to deal with it. So public humiliation was one of the ways that it was dealt with, which was not terribly effective, but lacking anything else. So this is probably one of the reasons why Merrill had his wine chest locked up, to help curb his wife's drinking problem, in one of the few ways that he was able to. So something like this chest as well also has a lock on it. This is more to secure your valuable silver and the other good things that you have to entertain your friends with. So, like today, we have wonderful parties, we have a good time, but we also need to worry about responsibility and enjoying ourselves in a safe and responsible way. So yes, I know I started talking about parties and I'm kind of ending this on a downer, but it's important to know that some things are timeless.